Captain Han checked his uniform one last time in the mirror. Today was the day that would change human history forever. He straightened his collar and took a deep breath. "Captain, they will arrive in 5 minutes," said Lieutenant June, standing, at attention by the door. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Is the team ready?" asked Han. "Yes, sir. Dr. Kim and Mina are all ready in the conference room." Han nodded and followed June through the long hallways of Earth Defense Force headquarters. The building was unusually quiet today. Most personnel had been sent home. Only those directly involved in first contact remained. The conference room had been prepared carefully. A large round table sat in the center, with chairs for both humans and the visitors. The room temperature had been adjusted to what their scientists believed would be comfortable for the aliens. Fresh water and various foods were available, though no one knew if the visitors would be able to eat Earth food. Dr. Kim, the team's xenobiologist, was reviewing notes on her tablet. She looked up when Han entered. "Captain, I've prepared a brief medical overview in case they ask about our biology," she said. "Good thinking," Han replied, "though I doubt the first meeting will go into such details." Mina, their communications specialist, was making final adjustments to her translation equipment. She had been working day and night since the aliens had sent their first message 3 weeks ago. "The translation program is as ready as it can be," she said, "but I'm still nervous. What if I misunderstand something important?" Han placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You've done everything possible to prepare. Besides, they claimed they've learned our languages already." A soft alarm sounded, and all 4 team members stood straighter. The moment had arrived. "Theoide." Large doors at the far end of the room slid open. 3 figures entered, escorted by 2 high-ranking generals. Han had seen pictures transmitted ahead of time, but nothing prepared him for seeing the aliens in person. They were tall, about 7 feet in height, with slender builds. Their skin seemed to glow slightly from within, with patterns of light moving beneath the surface like stars in a night sky. They walked with graceful movements that seemed almost like floating. The alien in front approached and stopped a respectful distance from Han. Its eyes were large and completely silver, with no visible pupils. "Greetings, Captain Han of Earth," the alien said in perfect Korean. "I am Talus, ambassador of the Celestial Concordat. We are the Lumina." Han bowed slightly. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Talus. We are honored by your presence." Talus returned the bow with surprising accuracy. Han wondered how long they had been studying human customs. "Please let us sit and talk," Han said, gesturing to the table. Once they were seated, Han introduced his team. "This is Lieutenant June, my second in command, Dr. Kim, our xenobiologist, and Mina, our communications specialist." Talus nodded to each person. "My companions are Elon, our science officer, and Rin, our security specialist." Han noticed that Elon seemed particularly interested in Dr. Kim's tablet, while Rin's silver eyes constantly scanned the room, much like any security officer would. "Your species intrigues us," Talus said. "You've accomplished so much despite your biological limitations. We wish to establish formal relations and share knowledge." "We are eager to learn from you," Han replied carefully. "Your ability to travel between stars is something we have only dreamed of." Talus made a gesture with long, 6-fingered hands. "Space folding technology. We can share some basics of how it works. Your scientists are not far from discovering it themselves." Dr. Kim leaned forward. "Your biology is fascinating. May I ask how your species evolved the bioluminescence? It seems to respond to your emotions." Talus looked surprised. "You are observant." "Yes. Our light patterns change with our emotional states. It is both communication and expression for us." The meeting continued for 2 hours. The Lumina asked about Earth's governments, resources, and military capabilities. Han answered honestly but carefully, aware that this first impression would shape relations between their species. When the subject turned to why the Lumina had come to Earth specifically, Talus became more reserved. "We have been observing your planet for some time," Talus said. Your species has qualities that are rare in the galaxy. What qualities? Asked Han. Adaptability, resilience. You face problems in ways we find unexpected. It is valuable. Han sensed there was more to this answer, but decided not to push right now. We hope this is the beginning of a beneficial relationship for both our peoples. As the meeting ended, Talus presented Han with a gift, a small crystal that glowed, with the same inner light as their skin. This contains basic information about our civilization and technology. A gesture of good faith, Talus explained. Han accepted it carefully. Thank you. We have prepared gifts as well. He signaled June, who brought forward a box containing art, music, and literature from Earth's cultures. After the Lumina left, Han's team gathered to discuss their impressions. They're hiding something, June said immediately. Their questions about our military were too specific. I noticed that too, Han agreed. But they shared technology freely. That's not typical behavior for a hostile species. Dr. Kim was examining readings she had taken during the meeting. Their biology is incredible. They appear to use light not just for communication, but possibly for energy transfer. And did you notice how they never mentioned their home planet's location? Mina was reviewing the translation logs. Their language has nuances we're missing. When Talus mentioned our qualities, the word carried meanings of both valuable resource and potential weapon. Han considered this information. Keep your observations coming, but let's not jump to conclusions. Tomorrow we begin detailed negotiations. Later that night, Han stood alone on the headquarters roof, looking up at the stars. One of those distant points of light was the Lumina homeworld. What was their true purpose here? Were they simply curious explorers, or did they have other motives? His secure phone buzzed. It was a message from General Park. Satellite images show the Lumina ship is scanning our military installations. Proceed with caution tomorrow. Han put the phone away and continued looking at the stars. First contact had gone well on the surface, but he couldn't shake the feeling that the Lumina weren't telling the whole truth. What the humans didn't know was that Talus was having a similar conversation aboard their ship. They are more perceptive than we anticipated, Talus told the ship's captain. Especially their scientist, Dr. Kim. Is the mission compromised? Asked the captain. No, but we should accelerate our timeline. The Krell scouts will reach this system within months, not years, as we previously calculated. We need to know if humans have the qualities necessary to help us fight. And if they don't? Talus looked out the viewport at the blue planet below. Then we must find another solution. But I believe they might be exactly what we've been searching for. The next morning, as the sun rose over Earth, both species prepared for day 2 of a relationship that would change the course of galactic history. Neither fully trusted the other yet, but both recognized the potential benefits of working together. First contact had been made. What came next would determine the fate of both species. 6 months had passed since the Lumina first arrived on Earth. After many meetings and negotiations, an agreement was reached. 5 humans would travel to the Lumina homeworld while 5 Lumina would stay on Earth. They called it the Earth-Lumina Exchange Program. Captain Han stood in the launch bay of Earth Defense Force headquarters, watching his team prepare for departure. They would be the first humans to leave the solar system. Final equipment check complete, Captain, said Lieutenant June, approaching with a tablet. All systems are green, Han nodded. Thank you, Lieutenant. But you're staying behind, remember? I need someone I trust to keep an eye on our guests. June looked disappointed but understood the importance of his role. I'll make sure the Lumina delegates don't get into trouble. And keep sending me reports, Han added quietly. Even small details might be important. Across the room, Dr. Kim was carefully packing her research equipment. The xenobiologist had spent months studying the limited biological samples the Lumina had provided. Now she would have the chance to study them in their natural environment. Mina, the communications specialist, was talking with a Lumina technician, practicing their language. Though the Lumina spoke perfect Korean, Mina insisted on learning their language too. Communication should go both ways, she often said. The final two members of the human delegation were Engineer Sung and Diplomat Jin. Sung was examining the Lumina shuttle that would take them to the main ship in orbit. His eyes were wide with wonder at the technology. Jin was reviewing the formal agreements one last time, making sure all protections for the human visitors were in place. Ambassador Talus approached Han. "Are your people ready, Captain? The journey will take 3 days with our fold space drive." "We're ready," Han replied, "though I still find it hard to believe we'll travel 30 light-years in 3 days." Talus made a gesture that Han had learned was similar to a smile. "The first jump is always the most exciting. Many of my people still remember their first space fold." The time for departure arrived. Families and officials gathered to say goodbye. President Lee herself came to shake hands with each team member. "You carry the hopes of all humanity," she told them. "Learn everything you can about our new friends." As they boarded the Lumina shuttle, Han looked back at Earth one last time. Would it look different when he returned? Would he be different? The shuttle ride to the Lumina ship took less than an hour. When they docked, Han gasped despite his training. The interior of the Lumina vessel seemed to be made of crystallized light. Corridors glowed with soft colors that shifted as they walked. There were no sharp corners anywhere, only gentle curves. "This is beautiful," Mina said, touching a wall carefully. The surface rippled slightly under her fingers, like water. "Our ships are semi-organic," explained Elon, the Lumina science officer. "They respond to our needs and help maintain life support." Their quarters were comfortable, with Earth-like gravity and temperature. Each human had a private room that adjusted its conditions based on their preferences. The beds seemed to float in the air but supported their bodies perfectly. "Rest well," Talus told them. "Tomorrow we make the jump to Australis, our homeworld." The next morning, the humans gathered on the bridge to witness the spacefold. There were no windows, but large screens showed the view outside. "The process may cause some discomfort," warned Talus. "Your bodies have never experienced spacefolding before." Captain Han felt a strange pressure throughout his body as the engines powered up. The stars on the screen began to stretch into lines. Then everything outside turned into swirling colors that hurt his eyes if he looked too long. "3 days of this?" groaned Sung, looking slightly ill. "The discomfort passes quickly," Rin assured them. "By tomorrow you'll hardly notice it." While the humans adjusted to space travel, back on Earth, the Lumina delegates were having their own challenges. Ambassador Venar, who led the Lumina group staying on Earth, found human society chaotic and unpredictable. "How do they function with so many different opinions?" Venar asked Lieutenant June during a tour of Seoul. "Your news channels disagree with each other constantly." June smiled. "That's actually something we value. Different perspectives help us find better solutions." Venar looked skeptical. "Efficiency is lost when consensus takes so long to reach. But when we do agree, we commit fully," June explained. "It may take longer, but our solutions often last longer too." On the Lumina ship, days passed quickly. The humans spent their time learning about Lumina culture and technology. Dr. Kim worked closely with Elon, studying the biological differences between their species. Mina continued improving her Lumina language skills. Engineer Sung was given limited access to the ship's systems, while Diplomat Jin and Captain Han focused on political and military matters. On the 3rd day, Talus called them to the bridge. "We're approaching Australis. Prepare for exit from fold space." The swirling colors on the screen suddenly snapped back into normal space. Before them hung a planet unlike anything they had seen before. Australis had rings like Saturn, but they glowed with blue and purple light. The planet itself was mostly covered in what looked like crystal formations that caught the light of 2 suns. "Welcome to our home," said Talus proudly. As they approached, Han could see huge structures floating in the atmosphere, entire cities suspended in the air. "Your cities float?" asked Sung in amazement. "The surface has strong radiation from our dual suns," explained Elon. "We evolved to live in the upper atmosphere where it's safer." Their shuttle descended toward the largest floating city, a sprawling structure that seemed to be made of the same crystal-like material as the ship. As they got closer, Han could see thousands of lumina moving through transparent walkways and buildings. "How many lumina live here?" asked Jin. "This is New Dawn City." "Our capital," said Talus. "About 3 million of our people live here." The shuttle docked at a platform extending from the city. When the doors opened, Han felt a gentle breeze that carried strange but pleasant scents. "The air is safe for you," Talus assured them. "We've adjusted this section of the city to match Earth conditions." They were led to a magnificent building at the center of the city. Inside, the High Council of the Lumina waited to greet them. Elder Sovar, the leader of the council, stepped forward. "Humans of Earth, we welcome you to Australis," said the elder, whose skin had deeper, more complex patterns of light than the younger Lumina. "Your journey marks the beginning of a new era for both our peoples." That night, a formal dinner was held in honor of the human guests. The food was created specifically to match human tastes while using Lumina ingredients. Han found the flavors strange but enjoyable. During the meal, Elder Sovar moved to sit beside Han. "Captain, there is something important we must discuss." Han sensed the shift in tone. "What is it, Elder?" "Your planet sits at a strategic crossroads," explained Sovar. "The Krell Dominion approaches your sector and they do not negotiate with species they deem primitive." Han felt a chill run through him. "You're saying Earth is in danger?" "We're saying," Elder Sovar clarified, "that we may need each other more than either of us initially realized." As the dinner continued around them, Han's mind raced with this new information. The Lumina hadn't come to Earth just for scientific exchange or friendship. There was a threat out there in the darkness between stars, and somehow Earth was involved. The exchange program had just become much more complicated. 3 months had passed since Captain Han and his team arrived on Australis. The beautiful floating cities no longer surprised them, but new tensions were growing beneath the surface of the exchange program. Han sat in the meeting room with Elder Sovar and other members of the Lumina High Council. The holographic display between them showed ships moving through Earth's solar system. "These are Krell scout vessels," said Sovar, pointing to 3 red dots near Jupiter. "They entered your system last week." "How dangerous are these scouts?" Han asked, studying the display carefully. "They are gathering information only," replied Sovar. "But where scouts go, warships follow. The Krell Dominion conquers any world they find useful." Another council member named Lauren added, "We can provide shield technology to protect your major cities. But in return, Earth must join the Celestial Concordat and provide soldiers for the coming conflict." Han frowned. "My authority doesn't extend to making such agreements. I need to consult with Earth's governments." "Of course," said Sovar smoothly. "But remember, time is short." After the meeting, Han found Dr. Kim in her laboratory. She was working with Lumina genetic samples, her face showing concern. "Something troubling you, Doctor?" Han asked. Kim looked around to make sure no Lumina were present. "Captain, I've been comparing their genetic samples from different time periods. Something strange is happening to their species." "What do you mean?" "Their DNA shows signs of degradation. Each generation has less genetic diversity than the last. If this continues, they could face extinction within a few hundred years." Han processed this information. "Could this be why they sought contact with Earth?" "It's possible," Kim nodded. "Human DNA is remarkably adaptable and diverse compared to theirs. They might need our genetic material, not just our soldiers." Meanwhile, on Earth, Lieutenant June had made a disturbing discovery. Analyzing communication patterns between the Lumina delegates, he found encrypted transmissions that didn't match their official reports. June brought his findings to General Park at EDF headquarters. "The transmissions peak whenever the Lumina visit our research facilities. They're sending far more data back to Australis than they admit." "What kind of data?" asked the general. "I can't decode it all, but some appears to be detailed scans of human biology, much more extensive than the samples we agreed to provide." Back on Australis, Engineer Sung was being given a tour of a Lumina research facility. Their guide, a scientist named Naris, showed him various technologies being developed for the mutual benefit of both species. This area is restricted, Naris said as they passed a sealed door. Sung noticed the security was much heavier than in other areas. What's in there? Just sensitive research, Naris replied quickly. Nothing that concerns the exchange program. Later that day, Sung shared his observations with Han and the others in their private quarters. They're hiding something important in that facility, Sung insisted. The energy readings I detected suggest extremely advanced biotech research. Diplomat Jin spoke up. The Lumina have been pushing hard for access to Earth's genetic databases. They claim it's to better understand human medical needs, but they seem particularly interested in our genetic diversity. Mina, who had become the most fluent in the Lumina language, added, I've been translating some of their scientific texts. They refer to something called genetic stagnation as their greatest crisis, even greater than the Krell threat. Captain Han considered all this information. Dr. Kim, is there any way you could get access to that restricted area? I've been working closely with their lead geneticist, Kim replied. I might be able to convince her to show me their research. The next day, Dr. Kim arranged a meeting with the Lumina geneticist. She carefully guided the conversation toward their research challenges. Your species has remarkable genetic stability, the Lumina scientist said. Our bodies are more affected by radiation, causing mutations that damage our reproduction. I might be able to suggest solutions if I saw your current research, Kim offered. After some hesitation, the geneticist agreed. I will show you, but this must remain between scientists. The Council prefers we don't share all our problems with Earth yet. The restricted area contained rows of containment units. Inside each was what appeared to be tissue samples from various species. Some Kim recognized from Earth, not just humans, but many animals too. Others were completely alien. You're not just studying us, Dr. Kim said, staring at the extensive collection of human samples, far more than the small samples they'd agreed to provide. You're trying to incorporate our genetic material into your own. The Lumina scientist, Naris, didn't deny it. Our species is dying. Your adaptability, your genetic diversity, they're the key to our survival. The Krell threat is real, but it's not why we sought you out. Why not just tell us the truth? Kim asked. Would your people have agreed to help if we admitted we needed your genetic material to save our species? Humans are protective of their biology. We feared rejection. When Kim reported back to Captain Han and the others, a heated discussion followed. They lied to us, Sung said angrily. Who knows what else they're hiding? But they're still offering valuable technology, Jin pointed out, and the Krell threat appears to be real. While the others debated, Han noticed that Engineer Sung had become quiet. What are you thinking, Sung? I need to check something, Sung said, standing up. There's a database terminal in the research section that isn't as closely monitored. I might be able to access their historical records. The next day, Sung returned with troubling information. Captain, we're not the first species they've approached. I found records of previous exchange programs with at least 3 other civilizations. What happened to them? Mina asked. The records don't say specifically, but none of them are mentioned in current Lumina communications. It's like they no longer exist. Han faced a difficult decision. Should they confront the Lumina with what they'd discovered? Return to Earth immediately with this disturbing revelation? Or work with the Lumina to find a solution that could benefit both species? That night, Han sent an encrypted message to Lieutenant June on Earth, detailing their discoveries. He needed Earth's governments to know the full truth before any agreements were made. The next morning, Elder Sovar requested an urgent meeting with Han. Captain, we've detected your transmission to Earth, Sovar said, his light patterns showing agitation. You've shared information that was not meant to be disclosed yet. You mean the truth about why you contacted Earth? Han replied calmly. Your people are facing extinction due to genetic degradation, and you need human DNA to survive. Sovar's light patterns darkened. It is more complicated than that. The Krell are still a real threat. But they're not why you came to us, Han said. You should have been honest from the beginning. Now, I don't know if we can trust anything you say. What will you do with this information? Sovar asked. That depends on you, Han replied. Are you ready to tell us everything? The complete truth about your intentions and what happened to those other species you contacted before us? As Han waited for Sovar's answer, he knew that whatever came next would determine the fate of both human and Lumina civilizations. When Captain Han's message reached Earth, the response was immediate and dramatic. The Lumina delegates were confined to the EDF compound while world leaders debated how to proceed. Security around the delegates was doubled, and all technology sharing was temporarily suspended. Lieutenant June stood outside Ambassador Venar's quarters, unsure if he should enter. His orders were to limit contact with the Lumina, but Venar had requested to speak with him specifically. Lieutenant, I know you're there, Venar called through the door. Please, we need to talk. June hesitated, then entered the room. Venar's light patterns were dim, showing what June had learned to recognize as distress. Is it true that your captain has discovered our research? Venar asked immediately. I'm not authorized to discuss that, June replied carefully. What your captain discovered is true, Venar admitted, surprising June with the directness. But the Krell threat is also real. We needed your genetic material, yes, but we also genuinely sought allies. Why not just tell us the truth from the beginning? June asked. Fear, Venar said simply. Fear that you would refuse to help, and our species would face extinction. Fear that you would see us as desperate and take advantage. We have existed for over 50,000 years, Lieutenant. The thought of our end is unbearable. On Astralis, the situation was deteriorating quickly. The Lumina High Council had placed the human delegation under house arrest, claiming it was for their protection. As news of the genetic research spread through their population, Captain Han paced in their quarters trying to develop a plan. We need to get a message back to Earth. Let them know we're being detained. I might be able to help with that, Mina said. She had been quiet for hours, analyzing Lumina communication patterns. I've noticed something about how the Lumina communicate. The team gathered around as Mina explained her discovery. The Lumina don't just communicate verbally or through writing like we do. Their bioluminescent patterns transmit additional information. They communicate on multiple frequencies simultaneously. How? Does that help us? Asked Sung. It makes their language incredibly rich, Mina continued, but it also makes their thinking very linear. They can process huge amounts of information, but always following set patterns. Humans, by contrast, think less systematically, but more creatively. You're saying we're unpredictable to them, Dr. Kim realized. Exactly, and I think that's what they truly need from us. Not just our DNA, but our way of thinking. A new perspective. Captain Han considered this. Could we use that to negotiate with them? I think we have to try, Diplomat Jin said. We can't fight our way out of here, and Earth can't help us right now. Jin worked through the night drafting a proposal based on Mina's insights. By morning, he was ready to present it to Elder Sovar. We request a meeting with the full High Council, Han told the guards outside their quarters. We have a proposal that could benefit both our species. The council agreed to meet them in the Grand Chamber. Elder Sovar looked tired, the light patterns in his skin moving slowly. You wish to present a proposal? Sovar asked as the humans entered. We are listening. Diplomat Jin stepped forward. We understand your species faces extinction due to genetic degradation. We also understand the Krell are a genuine threat to both our worlds. Jin paused, making eye contact with each council member. Humanity will help the Lumina with their genetic crisis, but as equal partners with full transparency. In return, the Lumina will share their technology and help prepare Earth for the coming Krell threat. This is not so different from what we already proposed, said Lauren, another council member. The difference, Jin continued, is in the approach. No more secrets, no more hidden research. We work together openly. Our geneticists collaborate with yours. Our military planners coordinate defense strategies. Complete information sharing. On both sides. The council members' light patterns flickered rapidly as they communicated among themselves. Some patterns showed clear disagreement. Some believe humans are too unpredictable to be trusted with advanced technology, Sovar translated, for the humans. Others see no alternative. If I may, Dr. Kim stepped forward. Your unpredictability concern is exactly why you need us. The Krell have encountered your species before, correct? They know how you think, how you fight, but humans would be new to them, unknown. And regarding our genetic assistance, she continued, we can help develop treatments that allow you to incorporate beneficial aspects of human genetics without losing your own identity. You don't need to become human to survive. You need to adapt just as humans have always done. The council chamber fell silent. Elder Sovar's light pattern stabilized, showing deep thought. Finally, he spoke. For millennia, we have evolved toward perfection, only to find ourselves at an evolutionary dead end. Perhaps what we need is not more perfection, but the beautiful imperfection these humans embody. One by one, the other council members' light patterns aligned with Sovar's. We accept your proposal, he announced. Equal partnership, full transparency. Back on Earth, Lieutenant June was meeting with General Park and President Lee. Vinar had been permitted to join them after June vouched for the ambassador's sincerity. The situation is complex, President Lee said, but not hopeless. If Captain Han's team has indeed reached an agreement with the Lumina Council, we should prepare to honor it. What about the other species the Lumina contacted before us? General Park asked Vinar directly. What happened to them? Vinar's light patterns dimmed slightly. They were not compatible, genetically or culturally. Two species refused to help. Once they learned our true needs. The third tried, but their genetic structure was too different. They still exist, but we no longer maintain contact. And you believe humans are compatible? President Lee asked. More than compatible, Vinari replied. Ideal. Your species has survived countless disasters, adapted to every environment on your planet, and overcome biological limitations with creativity. You are exactly what we need. A communication officer entered the room. Madam President, we've received a transmission from Australis. Captain Han reports they've reached an agreement with the Lumina High Council. They're sending the details now. As the terms of the agreement appeared on screens around the room, there was a mixture of hope and caution among the Earth leaders. The partnership would require trust on both sides, something in short supply after the Lumina's initial deception. We will need to proceed carefully, President Lee said, but I believe this could benefit both our species. Over the next few days, the human delegation on Australis was given complete access to Lumina research facilities. Dr. Kim worked directly with Lumina geneticists, designing treatments that could save their species. Engineer Sung studied their technology, learning principles that would help Earth advance its own capabilities. Mina continued analyzing Lumina communication, finding ways to bridge the gap between their different thinking styles. Captain Han stood on a balcony overlooking one of Australis's floating cities, watching the twin suns beginning to set. The beauty was breathtaking, but his mind was on the challenges ahead. Elder Sovar joined him on the balcony. You seem troubled, Captain. Just thinking about the future, Han replied. The Krell will still come, whether we're allies or not. Yes, they will, Sovar agreed. But now, for the first time in centuries, I believe we have a chance to defeat them. The Earthforged and the Starborn working together. Han nodded, looking out at the alien sunset. Two different species from two different worlds, united by common threats and common hopes. Perhaps that was enough to forge a lasting alliance. 1 year had passed since first contact. The Earth-Lumina alliance had grown stronger with each month. On Earth, Lumina technology had transformed human cities. Shield domes now protected major population centers. Defense satellites equipped with advanced weapons orbited the planet, ready to defend against any attack. Captain Han stood on the bridge of the EFS Defender, Earth's first starship built with Lumina technology. Though small compared to Lumina, vessels, it represented a giant leap forward for humanity. All systems are operational, Captain, reported Lieutenant June, who had been promoted to first officer of the Defender. We're ready for patrol duty. Good, Han nodded. Let's take her out. The Defender moved smoothly out of Earth orbit, joining a mixed fleet of Earth and Lumina ships. Their mission was to patrol the outer solar system, where Krell scout ships had been increasingly active in recent months. On the science deck, Dr. Kim worked alongside Naris, the Lumina geneticist. After months of collaboration, they had developed a treatment that was showing promising results. The latest test group is responding well, Naris said, studying the data on her screen. Genetic stability has improved by 47%. And no loss of Lumina characteristics, Dr. Kim added. They're still themselves, just more resistant to degradation. Engineer Sung entered the lab, his face serious. Captain wants you both in the conference room. The long-range sensors have detected something. In the conference room, Han, Mina, and Diplomat Jin were already waiting with Elder Sovar, who had come aboard as the Lumina representative for this mission. A Krell fleet has entered the solar system, Han announced as the others arrived. Not just scouts this time. 20 warships heading straight for Earth. How long until they arrive? Asked Jin. 3 days at their current speed, replied Sovar. Faster than we anticipated. They must have improved their propulsion systems. Can we stop them? Dr. Kim asked the question everyone was thinking. Han looked at Sovar, who spoke carefully. The combined Earth-Lumina fleet has the firepower to engage them, but the Krell are known for their unpredictable battle tactics. They do not fight like we do, and that's exactly why we need to fight differently too, Han said. The Lumina military relies on precision and calculated strategies. The Krell use chaos and unpredictability. We need to introduce a third element. They won't expect. What are you suggesting? Asked Sovar. Han turned to the screen showing the solar system map. I've been studying Earth's military history. Sometimes the most effective strategies seem irrational at first. He pointed to the sun. What if we could use this to our advantage? Over the next hours, Han outlined his plan. Using Earth mining, vessels retrofitted with Lumina technology, they would trigger a controlled solar flare timed to disrupt the Krell fleet's sensors. Then, using Earth's moon as a gravity slingshot, the main battle fleet would approach from an unexpected vector. This is highly unconventional, Sovar said when Han finished explaining. No Lumina tactician would ever suggest such a strategy. That's exactly the point, Han replied. The Krell expect you to fight like Lumina. They've never faced humans before. After discussing the details, Sovar agreed to present the plan to the Lumina fleet commander. To Han's surprise, the commander approved it quickly. Your species continues to surprise us, Captain, Sovar told him later. Our commander said this plan has a lower statistical probability of success than our standard tactics, but a higher element of surprise. He called it beautifully irrational. For the next 2 days, the fleet prepared. The retrofitted mining vessels moved into position near the sun, their crews protected by enhanced Lumina shields. The main battle fleet gathered behind Earth's moon, out of sight of the approaching Krell. On the Defender, Han addressed his crew. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for 2 civilizations. The Lumina came to us seeking help, and now we stand together against a common enemy. As the Krell fleet entered the inner solar system, the trap was sprung. The mining vessels fired specially designed energy pulses into the sun's surface, triggering a massive solar flare aimed directly at the Krell fleet. Solar flare reaching Krell position in 3, 2, 1, reported June. On the main screen, they watched as the wave of solar radiation washed over the Krell ships. Immediately, their formation became erratic. Their sensors are compromised, Sovar confirmed. Now, Captain. Han gave the order, and the combined Earth-Lumina fleet accelerated around the moon, using its gravity to add speed. They approached the Krell from below the ecliptic plane, a direction no space fleet would normally use due to the inefficiency of the approach. The Krell are trying to regroup, June reported. They seem confused by our approach vector. They expected either the methodical approach of the Lumina or standard human tactics from old Earth conflicts, Han explained. They got neither. The battle was brief but intense. The Krell ships were powerful, but their confusion gave the Earth-Lumina fleet a critical advantage. 3 Krell warships were destroyed in the first exchange of fire. 7 more were severely damaged. They're retreating, Sovar announced as the Krell fleet suddenly turned and accelerated away from Earth. I've never seen the Krell retreat so quickly. Will they come back? Asked Mina. Eventually, Sovar admitted. But now they know this system will not be an easy conquest. They will think twice before returning. The fleet returned to Earth to celebratory messages from around the world. The victory was significant, but everyone knew it was just the beginning of a longer conflict. 1 month later, Elder Sovar addressed a joint council of Lumina and human representatives on Earth. For centuries, we believed advancement came through perfection, the elimination of flaws. Today we learned that what we called flaws may in fact be strengths when viewed through a different lens. The genetic collaboration between humans and Lumina was proceeding well. Dr. Kim and Naris had refined their treatment, allowing the Lumina to incorporate beneficial aspects of human genetics without losing their own identity. In return, humans were beginning to benefit from Lumina medical technology that could eliminate most diseases. Captain Han stood at the window of the EDF headquarters, looking out at the newly constructed Lumina embassy. Its crystal towers reflected the setting sun, sending rainbow lights across the city. Talis, who had become Earth's permanent Lumina ambassador, joined him. Your thoughts, Captain? Just thinking about how far we've come, Han replied. A year. Ago, we had never met an alien species. Now we're fighting alongside one and sharing our DNA to help them survive. Our scientists originally believed we needed human genetic material to save our species, Talis said. What we discovered was that we needed humanity itself, the creativity, resilience, and adaptability that defines your spirit. And we needed what you offered too, Han responded. Your technology, your knowledge of the galaxy, your different perspective. Neither of us would have survived the Krell alone. As night fell over Earth, new stars appeared in the sky. Somewhere out there, the Krell were planning their next move. But for the first time in centuries, the Lumina had hope for their future, and humans had taken their first real steps into a larger universe. The stars had met the Earth, and both were forever changed by the encounter.